The domestic violence report in Ghana identified psychological violence as the commonest form of violence suffered by men with sexual violence as the least in the country.
Well, the report, which reflects 2 decades of work, indicates that 71.4% of men experience domestic violence.
The Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection is worried Ghana has failed in the fight against the phenomenon whilst focusing on women and children at the expense of men.
The study analyzed the incidence of violence across different population groups in Ghana. It focused on incidents, attitudes, determinants, and consequences of domestic violence. The report pointed out that 71.5% of women and 71.4% of men reported having experienced at least one form of violence in their lifetime. Though the most common form of violence experienced by both men and women was psychological, that of men was higher at 28% than that of women, which was rated at 22.5%. Social violence against women was rated at 20.8% and 18.7% for men. Economic violence against women was at 14.4% and 12.2% for men. Sexual violence was the least form of violence for both men and women, reflecting 10.6% against women and 9.5% against men. Domestic, physical and psychological violence was more prevalent among non-working women and men, women who have never married and divorced, as well as widows or men who have separated. Though there has not been any study in the last 2 decades, the statistics has not changed.
1 out of every 3 women after 20 years has still suffered domestic violence. What are the challenges? Financial resources for the institutions, and rolling out prevention programs, creating more awareness and inculcating the value of non-violence into our children right from primary school is inadequate.
Nana Oyelitha agreed the fight against domestic violence has been biased towards men.
We have largely ignored domestic violence against men, and so we are very happy that this study and this research report is giving us the data and will help us to now address domestic violence against men in a more holistic manner.
The first documented research study on gender-based violence in Ghana was authored in 1996 by some members of the International Federation of Women Lawyers, FIDA. The Women and Juvenile Unit of the Ghana Police Service was established in 1998, followed with subsequent legal reforms for gender-based violence until Parliament approved the Domestic Violence Act 732 in 2007. Through active campaigns, there has been a phenomenal increase in reportage of cases since 1999. Speakers at the launch were optimistic the findings will set the basis for a more aggressive approach to deal with domestic violence.